We are given that the length of LV, which in this case is the entire segment, is the square root of 153, meaning that it is irrational. So here's how I want you to use this check. When your answer or your distance is irrational, that's where we can use these calculators. So before I do anything else, I'm going to type in the square root of 153 into this calculator and see what happens. So to access the square root button, click this keyboard key. After you click on the keyboard key, you should be able to see this button for square root. And now I'm going to enter in what I was given, square root of 153. If you can't find that key, you should be able to also just copy and paste this value into the text. Now, just because this is irrational doesn't mean that we can't find the other two. So what we need to do is apply the distance formula to find the distance of, or the length of LU and the length of UV, which will be irrational. And then we can use this calculator to double check our work. So we're going to do just that. Let's start by finding our coordinates. So it looks like point L is at -8, -2. Point U is at, -4, -1. And point V is at point V is at 4, 1. All right, so let's start with our distance formula and finding the length of LU.
Okay, so LU equals the square root of the difference in the x's, so that's going to be -8 minus -4 squared, plus the difference in the y's, -2 minus -1 squared. Continuing on, LU equals the square root of -4 squared, plus -1
squared. I'm going to pause here and just double check in the graph. It does look like the horizontal distance from L to U is 4 and the vertical distance is 1. So at this point, we know we're doing our math correctly.
LU equals the square root of 16 plus 1. So LU equals the square root of
17. And because 17 is irrational, we just have to leave it as the square root of 17. There's nothing else that we can do here. Now let's find the distance from U to V. So UV equals
the square root of the difference in the x's. So -4 minus 4 squared, plus the difference in the y's, -1 minus 1 squared. Okay, UV equals the square root of, that's going to be -8 squared, plus -2 squared.
Let's pause really quick and check in the graph. Is the horizontal distance between the x's 8? Yes, it is. And is the vertical distance between the y's 2? Yes, it is. So we know that our math is correct so far.
Continuing on, UV equals the square root of 64 plus 4, and UV equals the square root of 68.
Because it's irrational, we're just going to leave it. But there's a way to use the graphing calculator in Desmos to show that this is correct. So now that my lengths are entered into the table, I'm going to show you how you can prove that these two add up to the total, which is the square root of 153. So I'm going to copy and paste this just because I can't access the square root symbol. So the square root of 17 was the length of LU, plus the square root of 68 was the length from U to V. And look at what happens when you add those two together. They equal the exact same amount as the given total, which means we did find the correct lengths of LU and UV. They just happen to be irrational, and we haven't figured out how to work with irrational numbers enough yet.